So, how are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
It's been a hectic 2 weeks. Last week we went to Chicago, went to New York. I was very honored to receive the Ron Rittenhour Award for Truth Telling. It's the first time it's been given to a politician, they tell me.
Wow.
Which goes to tell you how much of that we need in politics. And I was honored to share that award with Tarana Burke. She won the award for courage. And there were 2 other awards given for film or documentary film and a book about immigrants. And these 2 young kids from El Salvador. Okay. Then I went back to Chicago. I was there at the University of Illinois in Chicago. And at the Illinois Technical Institute. And mainly what we did there is, of course, everyone wants to know what is the status of Puerto Rico right now, which I'll get to it in a minute. But we're also trying to, in San Juan, we call it permanent solutions to recurring problems. President Trump said something that we didn't know until he said it. And I'm going to quote him, "We are an island surrounded by water, lots and lots of water, ocean water," and I end the quote there. Apparently he thought we didn't know that until he said it. But what that means with global warming being real is that we're going to continue to get hurricanes, very much more powerful, and we're going to continue to have a lot more hurricanes. So all of the models right now, hurricane season starts June 1st. And all of the models right now have at least one hurricane just crossing through Puerto Rico. It doesn't have to be a Cat 5 hurricane, it can only be a Cat 1 hurricane. And so at the Illinois Institute of Technology, we were looking at ways to build alliances. Because they've done a lot of work on renewable energy. And we can't continue to be going to fossil fuel. It's too much. We just heard when we came in that the western part of Puerto Rico suffered another total blackout. So, as you know, may have known, last week we had an entire island-wide blackout. The week before that, we had an entire island-wide blackout. There's estimated now between yesterday and today that about 35 to 50,000 people do not have any electricity. I've met with people today whose parents are in Puerto Rico, young students that are here, and they tell me, look, that we don't have any electricity still. And there's 500,000 Puerto Ricans that have left Puerto Rico since November. In the last year and a half, there's 500 millionaires that have moved into Puerto Rico. So now we have to start looking forward at ensuring that gentrification, a massive gentrification, doesn't take place. We have to look at rebuilding our power grid, but also diversifying the way in which energy is produced in Puerto Rico. But we also have 55% increase in suicide rates, which is, of course, very sad. A lot of the elderly people are just frustrated and basically they're giving up because the conditions have not improved to the point where they should have improved. And we have 500,000 roofs that still need their blue tarps. They have either the blue, they call them the tarps, or the blue ceilings. And they're temporary ceilings. So if a huff and a puff come, we're gonna be back in trouble. So it's still, you know, I often, and I'm gonna continue to say it, we are so thankful to the American people and to the Latin community and the diaspora that, left everything. And where the government was saying that the logistics were unsurmountable, the American people were getting it done and were helping us get it done. September 25th, 5 days after the hurricane, we received 75,000 pounds of food, water, and supplies that came from the Puerto Rican agenda, and Congressman Luis Gutierrez. Mayor Rahm Emanuel called United Airlines and said, I need to get a plane down there. So let's get it done. And United agreed and got the stuff done. So we were able to help other municipalities and other towns because the heart of the people of the United States and the Puerto Rican diaspora and the Latino community. And for that, we will forever be grateful. It just seems like new ties have been cemented because of that. But it's a very difficult situation. The economy is not up and running the way it should. We're trying to make sure that people know that at least in San Juan, tourism is, we're open for business because it's very important. We had about 1.5 million tourists coming down to Puerto Rico through the cruise ships. And that was wiped out September, October, November, December. Most of the municipalities are going to end up with deficits because we had to use up a lot of the money that we had in order to pre-buy stuff. In San Juan, we bought 2 months worth of food and water and medication for our health system, municipal health system, and for a hospital. We also rented beforehand 2 gas stations. It's because, you have a fleet of close to 2,000 cars, so you have to get them all up and running. You just can't have your police patrol cars not having any gas to run. So a lot of mayors are now saying that, look, I may not be able to end the fiscal year, which ends in Puerto Rico on June 30th, because I don't have the money. I've used up the money for essential services. So the best way that I can describe it is we were in the belly of hell. Now we're at the gates of hell, but it's still hell.
So what is your plan, or what is the strategies that you have for the next couple of months?
Well, we started very early in San Juan, like I said, under the realm of permanent solutions to recurring problems. For example, we first looked at our hospital, and we have 2 generator systems. It probably is the only hospital in Puerto Rico that has 2 generation huge systems. One is called the Hulk because it's so big. The other one is called the Mother because it's even bigger. And it has a diesel tank of 10,000 gallons. So it allows us to service the municipal hospital in all its areas: intensive care, surgery, emergency room services for 5 days without us having to get to the place. Because a lot of I've been very critical of FEMA and continue to be, but their diesel distribution system was extraordinary. I mean, it was unbelievable. And that helps a lot. It helps from the standpoint of making sure things are running, and also from the standpoint of ensuring you don't spend all your money in diesel. So, you have to call a spade. But another thing that we're doing is we're looking for very quick, low-hanging fruits of alliances. For example, the first tier that we had was our health. The second tier is education. We have 3 municipal schools and 1 community college, and we're working with the Illinois Institute of Technology to see if we can put microgrids in, or nanogrids. I learned just recently the difference between a microgrid and a nanogrid is in one particular building. And so we can get people back to work and get people back to study as soon as possible. These schools also served as shelters, so it's very important that they continue to be used and continue to be powered. That's the second. And the third one is to start developing resiliency frame of mind in communities. We're putting together what we call Centros de Transformación Comunitaria, or it's Community Transformation Centers. And what that will be is basically a trailer that we can take somewhere that will have solar lamps, solar batteries, so that it can be fueled by the sun. And then people can go there, and it will be run by the communities, and we're working on 7 communities to begin with. And people can go there and cook meals. They can go there and have something so basic as being plugged into a nebulizer. You can plug a nebulizer and treat your asthma attacks. And then the sick could be taken there. And then the municipality will have this data points of places where we will go to those areas and have the communities just kind of move around them. They're already designed, and we're in the next month or 7 weeks, we should be able to have the first one. It's not going to be enough for hurricane season. It will not be enough. We were in the process now of in the next month, we're going to start giving people what we call resilience packages. We're going to give you a water filter. Dame la bombillita. We're going to give you a few of these bulbs. We call them hope bulbs. Others call them solar puffs. They were provided to us by an organization in Virginia called Operation Blessing. And they can light up a room, literally. People can work with them.
And they're going to continue donating those?
Yes, they've done about 2 million already, and they're going to continue doing it. They're actually working around Puerto Rico, but they're in a municipal space. So this is the Power Puff. It's water resistant. You won't be able to see it much now. It's got just a simple solar battery, and you put it out for 8 hours, and it gives you 8 hours worth of, look at the sun went down. Did you notice that? Yeah, perfect timing. So it's got this one, it's got another one that's more lumens. The total is 91 lumens, so it's really good. And then it has an addition feature that I like. It creates a system for people when they're in need of an SOS. So 2 million of these have been given around Puerto Rico, about 500,000 just in the San Juan area. We're also going to provide them with clarity filters. It's a filter made by Kohler, and the American Federation of Teachers and Hispanic Federation have teamed up together with Operation Blessing and the municipality. And it's a low, high density, low timing, they call it. I'm sure that's not the correct term, but it takes a little longer. So you put any kind of filthy water inside, and the next morning you have 3 gallons of water. Dame mi teléfono, Gloria. Because see, when there's no electricity, a lot of the water cannot get pumped to the places that it should get pumped, or a lot of the water cannot get filtrated. So you start drinking very, very, gracias. Gracias. You start drinking very, very dirty water. I'll show you, and we can send it to you in a little bit. But this is a couple of days after the Hurricane Maria. The Leptos, I'm not a cinematographer, so you can tell, but you can tell how dirty the water is. Why was it dirty? Because people were literally drinking from a creek. They would take whichever water they could find, and they would put a little pipe. So this Operation Blessing gave us this reverse osmosis. So it went from being like this and having 398 points of bacteria to this is the first, and then it would come up to this. So look at the difference. So it is instant drinkable water.
How long it takes that?
It's automatic. It's automatic. Actually, they can take it from the same creek. It takes maybe 10 seconds to go through the entire machine, and it comes right out. So this was in a town called Comerío, where there's 11 communities, and what the mayor did is that he put the machine on the back of a pickup truck. Operation Blessing also bought the cisterns, and there were people whose job was just to go from community to community, filling up the cisterns, and then moving to the next community. So they're basic things that you almost have to go back to ground zero to ensure that you give life to people. There were some people that had leptospirosis from drinking water, where animals have died and so forth. And so we're making sure that everyone also has a little gas stove. The gas stoves were a grant by Oxfam, OXFAM, and we bought 1,000 gas stoves, which is not nearly enough, but you give them to those that cannot afford it. We also are working in a protocol to take care of elderly population. We took care of 65 elderly homes, but we had to take about 21 people one day from one home that were severely dehydrated. Buildings literally become human cages because if you're bedridden, no one can go up and you can't come down. So we learned, I hate to say that we learned from Maria because I hate to give her some power, but we learned from what needs to be done in order to be a lot more effective in taking care of people that are in very, very difficult situations.
Y actualmente, ¿cómo se está preparando Puerto Rico para entonces enfrentar la nueva temporada de huracanes?
Bueno, es muy difícil y la verdad es que casi no nos podemos preparar porque todavía estamos comenzando apenas a salir de la situación anterior. Una de las cosas que hacemos es educar a la gente. Por ejemplo, si usted tiene 4 de estos, trátelas bien, no las bote, ¿verdad?, para que las pueda usar para la próxima temporada de huracán, que es el beneficio de estas cosas que son solares. Esta mañana en el Holyoke Community College vimos un lugar solar que desarrollaron en Holyoke para conectar los celulares. Porque es que un problema genera otro problema. No había señal de celular porque no había luz o porque los generadores no funcionaban, pero aunque hubiese señal no había dónde recargar las baterías de los celulares. Así es que uno va educando a la gente, pero les tengo que decir, and I'll say this in English, that the mental charge in the population is very difficult. Before drizzles of rain and wind may seem romantic, now there are the advanced team for potentially something very bad to happen. So we have a lot of people whose homes have been broken. I've seen them, so many between yesterday and today. And there is really no way to prepare at this point because we are still in survival mode from the last time. But we work a little harder every day, and we make sure that we thank the people that helped us, that have never forgotten us, and we push on. That's what we can do, we push on. We've learned a lot about communities coming together and about people that perhaps didn't want to talk to one another. All of a sudden your life depends on somebody else. So it just is. It's nice to go back to those roots where people actually did a lot less of this and a lot more of this. And that's come back to many communities in Puerto Rico.
Are you still receiving support from other countries?
Well, yes, especially monetary support, but the Jones Act makes it very difficult for Puerto Rico to receive support from other countries because it forces everything that we receive to be brought in a ship from the maritime units that have a U.S. flag. So what happens is if a ship wants to come from Saudi Arabia and help us with solar technology, they have to decide if they come to Puerto Rico, they cannot go into the United States. So what are you going to do? You choose a larger market. So those are some of the structural constraints that we have to deal with, and that we have to have some serious and very fast conversations about how to initially liberalize them and then end them. Houston had a 100% waiver on the Jones Act after Harvey, as they should. The USVI has had for some time a partial waiver on energy-related goods and services. We had 7 days after Irma and 10 days after Maria. Certainly not enough. But a lot of humanitarian help is coming. And we had, for example, 327 AFL-CIO workers that left their homes and went to help us. And not only helped San Juan, but they helped 34 additional communities. And what that does more than the help is that these people have become our advocates in the United States, in the U.S. Congress, because funky things are happening, and I say it not in the nicest of terms. That $4.9 billion that was given to us as a loan in November still hasn't gotten to Puerto Rico. So the American people think it's gotten to us, but didn't, mainly because some members of Congress wanted the money to be used to pay hedge funds rather than to help in the humanitarian crisis. So that's something that we have to deal with based on that structural series of variables that don't allow things to get better as fast as they could. Some governments asked, the government of Mexico asked, for example, to send people to work on our power grid. But we all know that relationships aren't what they used to be amongst the north and south of the border, so that didn't happen. So that restriction is something that is very important that we very soon start talking about. Because if they aren't bad, why were they lifted? Right? So the sheer issuance of a temporary reprieve from the Jones Act just lets you know that things could be better if that wasn't imposed on the people of Puerto Rico.
You have about 7 or 8 minutes left. I just want to let you know.
Yes.
So obviously I'm sure you've heard since you got here, but locally and also across the country, there are a lot of Puerto Rican evacuees that are facing homelessness in the next couple of weeks, looking at May 14th. Seems to be the cutoff date, even though they keep extending it. Te voy a preguntar en español porque el periódico yo trabajo en español. Un mensajito para los...
¿Tú eres boricua?
Claro, obvio. Un mensajito para los evacuados que están aquí y que se sienten desesperados, que se sienten abandonados de aquí y en Puerto Rico piensan que no pueden volver porque no tienen su hogar, no tienen trabajo, las escuelas están cerradas.
Bueno, no solamente es la desesperación de no saber lo que te va a pasar, sino es la agonía mental de que la fecha se sigue extendiendo y que tú no sepas a dónde vas a ir a parar. Yo creo que uno de los grandes errores que se cometieron fue que le dimos como sociedad un boleto de ida, pero no de regreso. Y entonces, sí, la situación en Puerto Rico es muy difícil. Por ejemplo, ahora mismo el gobierno de Puerto Rico está cerrando 283 escuelas. Y no pueden usar a María de excusa. Van a privatizar el sistema escolar, en esencia lo que va a suceder, utilizando el modelo de vouchers y de charter schools. Similar a lo que pasó en Katrina, que todavía 10 años después están tratando de levantar el sistema escolar de Nueva Orleans. Pero el problema es que esto comenzó desde el cuatrienio pasado. Así que la educación, que es la que nos ayuda a todos a llegar a la línea de salida más o menos en igualdad de condiciones, está siendo acechada. Hay otro asunto que es la Junta de Control Fiscal, y esto lo voy a decir después en inglés, pero Yo honestamente creo que el mejor lugar para cualquier persona es el lugar donde tiene una red de apoyo, más allá de su familia inmediata. De que si tu niño se enferma, hay un abuelo, una abuela, una tía que pueda ayudar. Así que regresen, ¿no? Porque ¿qué es más difícil? ¿Estar sin hogar aquí o poder tener una red de apoyo mínima allá? Pero hay que darle las gracias a ciudades como Holyoke, como Chicago, como Kissimmee, Orlando, Filadelfia, Pittsburgh, Nueva York, Washington, que han recibido con brazos abiertos a los puertorriqueños. La Universidad de Illinois en Chicago no les requiere un montón de los papeles que se supone que ellos tuviesen para poder ingresar. Y hay universidades en Estados Unidos que han dejado completamente que no se pague el tuition, la matrícula. Así es que ese agradecimiento siempre está ahí. Pero es una situación triste. Somos una nación, la nación puertorriqueña, desgarrada y dividida en dos pedazos, con una guagua aérea que ya parece ir más de ida que de vuelta. I wanted to make a point that I made in Spanish is there's the issue of a fiscal control board. There's a fiscal control board that was imposed by the Obama administration that literally takes democracy or whatever whiff there was of democracy in Puerto Rico away. The fiscal control board now is saying that we have to reduce pensions for our retirees by 15%. They are saying that the minimum wage for people younger than 25 has to be less than the federal minimum wage. So that's not going to help for the retention of our youth. They're also increasing the credit at the University of Puerto Rico from $55 a credit to $157 a credit. They have a plan to reduce from 10 different campuses in Puerto Rico to 5 different campuses in Puerto Rico. So when you start restricting the access to education, and here we are at a college that for many years, was founded on the very perception and knowledge that education releases not only the mind, but the soul to move forward. That we all have the right to be educated, that provides an environment for people that are women or identify themselves as women to come to school in an environment that not shelters people, but ensures that they have an opportunity to thrive. So if anyone understands, I mean, I've been to a high school, to a program that has women, especially people that have not finished their GED or are looking for ways to be educated. The micro college. I've gone to a community college. I'm at a university. I mean, look at it. It's almost been an education driven. And back at home, the Fiscal Control Board and the government of Puerto Rico are really waging a war against education. Now, my grandmother was a daughter of a sugarcane plantation worker, and she crawled her way out of poverty because she was educated. Because as she instilled on me, education is a great equalizer, right? So we cannot, if we want to have a future, we cannot just double down on education. We have to really do much more of that. We have to retrain our workforce, and we have to ensure that a lot more of between October and February 4th, Homeland Security granted $500 million worth of contracts. And 50 million of those 500 million were for local contractors. The other 450 million were for U.S. contractors. So that means that the money is going to leave Puerto Rico, and you know that has to be a lot more equal, so that we can move ahead and jumpstart our economy. I was looking for the graph and the chart. I'll continue to look for it, but it's just, you know, what I've seen here at Holyoke, and it's people helping people, moving past any difference that we may think we have because of the way we look, what we feel, who we love, and going and getting together and saying, we're going to get it done. And that's what we need. Let me show you. This is from the Illinois Institute of Technology.
So I think I'm going to wrap it up.
One more. This is a map of places in North, Central, and South America, and how agreeable they are to the development of solar energy. The darker it gets, the better it is. If you look at Puerto Rico, it's totally dark. So that means that we really have to move forward. And we really have to be innovative and be able also to step out of our shell, understand what we've done wrong, and make the elimination of poverty our priority. We are no longer able to hide our poverty, the discrimination, and the inequality in Puerto Rico behind pina coladas and palm trees. That time is gone. Yeah, one more?
Yes, I'll be brief with this. So you were talking about the connections that you guys have been forging in the wake of the hurricane between places on the mainland and Puerto Rico. Do you know any specific ones that are happening between places in Western Massachusetts, which is, you know, is a huge Puerto Rican community, and Puerto Rico?
Well, part of the reason for this trip is exactly that. I'll be in Boston University at the end of the month of May. Mm-hmm. I graduated from BU, and they're giving me an honorary Juris Doctor. It only took 32 years to get it. But that's part of what we're developing. Let me very humbly point out something. And I do this out of the most loving part of my heart. When you refer to the states as the mainland, that makes us the last land. So just call us Puerto Rico, and that just look. Even my Wonder Woman thing went up because it makes a difference. It makes a difference if we call women girls, if we call Native Americans by names that they shouldn't be called. And again, I know you don't mean any disrespect, but we have to be cognizant also of that this relationship that made it possible for injustice and neglect to happen has to change. We have to have a relationship with the United States that is a relationship free of discrimination and bias, and that puts us on the map as equals. And I'm very careful always of saying there's a difference between the government and we the people. And the people of the United States have had nothing but love for us. And that relationship has been cemented to the depths of the human soul. And when that relationship gets cemented, very things can fall apart. Time for one more?
What do you
We have to go? Let's-
¿Cuál sería tu mensaje para la juventud puertorriqueña aquí en Holyoke, que te ve como ahora un modelo a seguir, como una mujer fuerte, como una mujer puertorriqueña
Como un nasty woman.
como un nasty woman, que ahora ellos están más conectados con su puertorriqueñidad? ¿Cuál sería tu mensaje para ellos?
Bueno, yo creo que Yo no me veo a mí como una líder ni como un ejemplo. Yo hice lo que tenía que hacer cuando lo tenía que hacer. Y yo creo que la lección para mí fue que cuando uno se enfrenta a una injusticia, se enfrenta de frente y de pie. So, he's asking me what would I tell youth, Puerto Rican youth at Holyoke that see me as a role model. I don't see myself as a role model. I did what I had to do when I had to do it. And when you are faced with injustice, you can do two things. You either step up and speak out, or you step down and become an accomplice. So, Eleanor Roosevelt, used to say, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Well, just don't consent. Period. Thank you all very much. Really nice.